G'day everyone, DJ DARQs here. I received a message on YouTube asking for a video on advanced techniques. The video I made before was what? Well outdated now, maybe 6 years? 6 years ago when I made that video. So I guess a technique video is a bit overdue. Unfortunately I can't do any play footage at the moment because my computer is absolutely terrible. But let's just jump straight into it. So back before I was talking about changing my playstyle. Originally I was playing as a really well-known Korean player now named DJ Nari. And Nari plays in a very interesting way. He uses middle finger on 1, index 2, thumb 3, with his right hand index 4, thumb 5, ring? No, middle 6 and ring 7, like that. And it looks very sort of bizarre to be playing like this. But I played that like that for a solid 3 years or so, and I got some really good scores playing like that as well. Like, there weren't many issues playing like that. The main thing which I found was an issue was just stamina when playing. The main issue being, as I said in my other video, that there's a tendon in between these two fingers which prevents you from moving them quickly. So your mobility is very limited when you're hitting 6 and 7, like so. And I found that when I successfully put pinky on 7, you can hear that the clicks are much more defined. There's a lot more mobility between the two fingers here compared to the fingers here and the fingers here. Namely because, as I said, there's a tendon in your fingers which physically limits how fast you can move them. So, first trick of advice for people who are looking for advanced techniques: try and put your pinky on 7, or if you're two-player side, use your pinky on 1 from your left hand. I've just found, although it's not necessary, I mean there's a lot of great players who don't use it on this key. From my own personal experience, it helps so much with your stamina when you're playing. And I mean, if you look at most of the top ranking players, they do use pinky on 7. Of course, there are some exceptions, like DOLCE actually doesn't use his pinky on this key. He just hits with his ring finger, which I find amazing, but still. I would highly recommend, especially if you're like me. My finger tends to tense up, like so, when I'm hitting keys. So if you notice, when I'm hitting, you can see my finger sort of flailing. It doesn't curl in like some people's does. So 6 and 7, using the pinky finger is my first bit of advice. Now, somebody was asking about how to handle those scratch-heavy patterns. So, you know, you're playing dense patterns like so, all of a sudden a scratch pattern comes up. Now, in my original video, I said I covered it just with 1 and 2. What I didn't mention is that I'm also able to hit 3. Now, my thumb usually covers these two keys here. And I don't really have an issue. I mean, as you can see, I can scratch and hit them both without many issues. But if it is really difficult, I mean, if it's something which is quite dense, I'll bring my other finger across. So I'll move my thumb from key 5 to key 3. Now, a lot of people say, "Oh my god, DARQs, how do you do that? It doesn't make any sense, it's impossible." I would just recommend, when you're playing normally, just try and glue your fingers like that the whole time. Just try and interchange between the two here and here. And this is a very well-known style of play known as the Takasu style of play. Taka S, as some people call him, actually stands for Takasu. He only uses his thumb across 1 and 3, and he brings this finger across 2. And he gets insane scores on really dense charts. As you guys saw in Top Ranker, aside from Beachside, which he scrubbed out on. So, advanced technique number 2, learn to use your thumb on 1 and 3. Being able to interchange that is a big step. And once you can do that, you should have no problems with most scratching stuff up to about level 10. But bringing that finger across as well does absolute wonders for dense patterns. If you can cover these 5 keys like so, you shouldn't have any issues. Okay, so that's how you handle most scratch heavy stuff. Aside from that, if you're hitting the 12s, like red, like black, like watch out, stuff like that, I would recommend learning how to one-hand, and this is a technique which I haven't got down because it's just so advanced. Beachside almost has to be one-handed. You can't actually you can't scratch accurately on beachside and hit the keys at the same time. So most players, in fact pretty much all players who can score really well on it, just one hand most of beachside. And I can't do that. I have no idea how people manage to learn how to do that, but that's leagues away. Beachside's in pretty much its own league. Alright, so we've covered scratching, we've covered this side of the keys. Now for this area, it's very interesting. You see a really broad number of techniques come out for handling keys 1, 2, and 3. Or on the opposing side, 5, 6, 7. Okay, but I'll be talking about 1, 2, 3 because I'm one player side. Now, when I first started, I started playing, like, I like to call this the claw method, because it reminds me of like the UFO catches here, where you just, you've got the claw with the 3 prongs. This is a really popular method to play for most people who start off. I started just using double prong when I started, and that works quite well. But as you know, you can't double prong and scratch on AC. This is AC distance, as you can see across here. You can't prong and AC scratch. It's absolutely impossible. And DJ Hood, who used to play this way, has actually changed his technique since, because he said the AC scratch is impossible to do. So that's the first thing. You've got to transition out of this. This is a very draconic style of play, and it makes scratching just absolutely impossible. You can't scratch and hit with one finger. It's bullcrap. So a lot of people have developed different techniques around this. The most common, the most popular by far method for doing this is known as Toshiashiki. Toshiashiki sounds a bit strange to most of you, but translated out, it's 1048 style. So that player, 1048, stands for Toshia. He developed this style where he said, well, if I turn my hand, instead of going 1, 2, 3, if I replace this finger on the 1 key, my ring finger, with my thumb, look at that. I can cover all of the keys, and hey, I can interchange very easily with the scratch, like so. So instead of having this finger on here, the thumb goes on 1, and then the other fingers wrap around. So you've got thumb on 1, middle on 2, index on 3, like so. So this is the basic style, Toshiashiki, which is really, really prominent with most top-ranking players today. So index on 3, middle on 2, thumb on 1. Other hand, exactly the same form that I had before. Index 4, thumb 5, middle 6. Either ring on 7 or pinky on 7. I know a lot of people do ring, but as I said, I'd highly recommend using pinky, like so. This style of play is very, very common. 90% of the top rankers play like this. This stems from, as you guys may or may not know, BMS. BMS players all pretty much play in this style because it is just so versatile. It really nails dense patterns well, this style of play. And it looks comfortable. I mean, when you look at my hands, they don't look stressed when they're playing. It's perfectly relaxed, right? Now, the only big issue with this is scratching, because depending on your hand size, you might not be able to pull this off. Now, Toshia, or 1048, is capable of scratching like so, and hitting the 3 key accurately. So if you watch a video of him playing Eyes, you can see him just scratching and hitting all this really dense crap, and I just go, what the hell, how do you do that? Clearly his pinky finger is very flexible compared to mine. Mine can't quite reach the scratch to do it. I can do it on AC distance, but I feel so strained when I do it. I don't think I could ever hit like this accurately. Whereas I know that people like Krellian can, I can't do it. It's an absolute no for me to do that combination. Whereas Toshi can get away with it. Alternatively, if you have really small hands, you can cheat the game. Yes, this is advanced technique number 3, which I don't actually recommend you doing. Now, instead of using your finger to hit the turntable like so, you can actually shift your whole wrist across and use your palm / your wrist to turn the turntable. Okay? Like that. And hey, no problem. You can just turn the turntable with the palm of your hand, and you can still hit everything, and it doesn't matter. Now, the reason why I say I don't agree with this is, one, it's a fucking turntable. You're supposed to use your hand. You're not supposed to use the palm part. You're supposed to use your fingers, right? It feels better. I don't know. Like, I'm very opposed to wrist scratching. This is called wrist scratching because the majority of the power comes from your wrist, like so, right? And for scratch heavy stuff, I don't know how the hell you're supposed to time it accurately using your palm. Now, I know some players can, like Una10. He is really, really good at doing that, and I have no idea how. But I've also heard that a lot of players have had wrist problems from doing this, and rightfully so, because if you just do this the whole time, you're really giving your wrist a workout. So wrist scratching is a very, very popular way of doing dense patterns and hitting at the same time. However, I've found that just playing like this gets you through about 95% of it. Obviously there's stuff which is a bit too dense for me to pull off this technique, but it seems to work quite well for me. And I mean, I've got very, very decent scores on sort of scratcher heavy 12s. I mean, for example, Mendes, I've got like minus 100 EX. Like, I'm very close to tripling it. And then there's people who play exactly like me, for example, JDR, who can hit those combinations using this and get really high scores. He's got a AAA plus 100 or something on Mendes playing like this. So you don't have to play Toshishiki to be good at the game. It is very, very popular to play Toshishiki, but as I said, it's not built for everyone. It's not everyone's cup of tea to use that technique. Alright, so Toshishiki standard play. Now this is what I like to call traditional style, and that's a free form left hand, right? So what I've started doing, and I didn't even notice this until the other day, is I used to be just so set on a static play style, right? I was set on doing this. Back in the past I said, right, I'm never going to deviate from this. If it's dense, I'm going to do this the whole way through. There is a big issue with playing like this, because obviously there's not much mobility in this hand if you're only using 3 fingers. And also, you really have to stretch to hit one, to hit one with your middle finger, like so. So, what I said was, okay, I've watched Totogo's videos a million times, and I went, wow, he looks so comfortable when he's doing May. I don't know how he looks so comfortable. And I figured, yeah, the way to do it is just to mirror the playstyle. So if I'm using my pinky on 7, like so, I'll just do the same thing with this, like so. Thumbs, no problem. Middle, great. Now I've got my index is free for the middle key. So now I play very evenly spread, like so. And it doesn't look like it on the stream when I do it, but I'm using my pinky on 1. And a lot of people say, don't use your ring. I say, no. Use my pinky finger, like so. It just feels more comfortable. I mean, my left hand is still learning to get used to it. It's only a recent development on my technique, but it feels very, very solid when I'm playing. I never feel uncomfortable on dense patterns now, because I can just do this for most of it. If it's getting really bad on this hand, I'll switch across, but I still, I can't fathom just interchanging between the two like that. It blows my mind how people can do it. So, flat technique like so is what I'm currently doing. Scratches, this, and interchanging, as you can see. So, let's see, what else can I add for playstyle? Long story short, most playstyles will work so long as you can cover all 7 keys, and you can scratch with your thumb. I mean, as I said, there's a lot of variance, especially for the left hand, between that, but at the end of the day, look at Madoka, he just does whatever on the keys. He's got a very free form, and I'd say fourth and final tip is to just try and do so many different things. Like, try and use every finger possible on the keys and be comfortable with it, because ultimately, the more versatility that you have with your playstyle to hit stuff, the better you're going to score. For example, I saw JDR get a random on One More Lovely, which was, what was it? It was like this, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this, that, and that, and he did it like that. He brought his whole hand across to hit it, which I thought was amazing. Additionally, I watched Zeno play a long time ago, and oh my god, that guy, he doesn't really use his thumbs as much. He freestyles everything like this. It looks like he's doing DDR crossovers with his hand. And I don't know how the hell he manages to do it. And like, once again, for 6-7 combos, I see JDR bring his hand across like this and hit them like that, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. I don't know how he manages to identify the patterns fast enough to do that, because I can't. I absolutely can't. So yes, as okay, I'll wrap this up because it's getting really long. So static playstyle, good idea to have. Static playstyle, good idea to have. Make sure that you can use your thumb on 1 for scratch and 3 if you can. Interchanging is very important if you want to cop out and be, you know, like a BMS player. Wrist scratching is very, very handy. Okay, so that's it for me for now. Thank you very much for watching this, if you have been watching. If you have any questions whatsoever, please leave a comment within the comment section in YouTube. If you can't get a big enough message in that, please send me a message, or please send a video asking questions. I'm more than happy to help out. Additionally, I wanted to say that there's Rare's advice blog made by Derek, who is the best player, the best AC player in America at the moment. So I'd highly recommend checking out his stream at 2DXREA, IIDX, because he will be doing tutorials on technique throughout the next week or so. I have no idea how long. But for me,